Hey Herbert, just give me your name. State your name. What's your name?
Herbert Caldwell Jr.
Well, you're junior.
Yes,
Your
I am.
father was a senior,
He
right?
was a senior.
Okay. What's your address?
3380 Risher Road, Warren, Ohio.
What's your date of birth?
1/24/1947.
How long you lived in the city of Warren?
All my life.
All your life. Where's your family from?
My family's from, my father's from Enterprise, Alabama. My mother was from Dothan, Alabama. And we grew up on 744 South Park Avenue in what was called the Flats in Warren.
Do you remember anything about down there? How was it like down there in the flats?
Well, we had a lot of people who were soon to be celebrities. Bill White, he lived there.
You know Bill White?
The commissioner of baseball. We also, one of the not fondest memories, but one of the memories that I do have is every year the place would flood, the flats would flood. And I can remember myself coming out of my bedroom window in a boat. And we'd have to either go either to the far west side or either up to the east side of Warren, up around Pine Street, up there to the Benton homes that we stayed with our cousins there. Until the floods receded, we found out that the city of Warren had voted to fix the problem. But we also found out that there were two politicians in the city of Warren. I think one's name was Raymond Little, was convicted of doing something with the money, and the problem was never fixed. Consequently, I got drafted, went to the service. When I came back, urban renewal had taken effect, and we were all moved out of from the downtown area to the west side of Warren. We were probably the first family to be moved into the Highland Terrace.
When you lived downtown, was there any white people down there?
Yeah, we had Greeks and Italians that lived in the area. On Walnut Street, there was some Greek people, especially on Walnut. On Park Avenue, we had mostly black people. Everyone owned their homes. We had 3 grocery stores down in the flats. It was Moxley's grocery store, Emerson's was Don Emerson's family. They had a grocery store, and the Nettles had a grocery store on First Street.
That was all
Black owned.
You say downtown, that was the black downtown.
That was we called the flats on this side of the tracks. Up above that was south of what is it? I'm trying to say, it was between Main Street and Pine Avenue.
What did you do down there? You remember what you have any play buddies down there, or what did you do down there when you was down in the flats?
Well, we mostly spent most of our time at a place called the Rebecca Williams Community Center, and we go there after school. We really didn't know that we weren't allowed to go to many other places. One of the memories I have is going to the Warren Sanitary Dairy after our gadget ball team won a championship. Myself and Councilman Willie Fulton's son, we were on the same team. And we were going to the sanitary dairy to get our milkshakes and hamburgers. And as I recall, they gave us the milkshake and the hamburger, but we had to sit out in the front steps. We weren't allowed in with the white teammates. This was right in Warren, Ohio.
Wow, what was that? Do you remember?
Sanitary dairy. I had to be in about the 3rd grade.
What school did you go to?
I went to 2 years at First Street School. And then when we moved to the west side of Warren, we were the first ones to go to the newly erected Jefferson School. And from there, we went to West Junior High School, and from there to Warren G. Harding.
Oh, okay. When you was in elementary school, you remember anything in particular, any incidents that you had?
Yeah, when I was in elementary school in the 4th grade, we were all up at Jefferson School during the winter, and we were had sled riding. And I heard the ambulances going up Main Street. We didn't know what it was. When I got home, I found out that was the day that my father at the Republic Steel had gotten his leg, they had to remove his leg because some scrap had fallen on him. He was in a labor gang. And they had amputated his leg just below the knee.
And he worked where?
At the Republic Steel Corporation, and he was on the labor gang.
Is that one of the reasons why his family migrated to Warren, was because steel mill?
Well, I had 3 uncles, Owen, Richard, and my father. My grandfather, his half brother got in some type of trouble in Alabama. He might have shot somebody, since he might have. But he had to move up. He moved up here. We settled in at 744 South Park Avenue. He consequently sent for the rest of his brothers who came up, and he got them a job at the Republic Steel. And so they got jobs here, and my Uncle Richard married Reverend Caldwell. She's the one that built the new Second Baptist Church that they have now on Main Street. We were first Second Baptist Church was on Walnut Street, and I was about three or 4 years old as we marched from the Second Baptist Church there to the church, the location where the Second Baptist Church is now. And I feel really good about that for a reason, because being with the WTCSA, I was board chairman there, and I was able to have some influence on moving the old Second Baptist Church all the way from Walnut Street to its present location, which is behind the Second Baptist Church now.
Did you attend Second Baptist Church?
Yeah, I did. In fact, our first house was right next door to the church, between the Highland Terrace and the church as it was being built. And so I was elected the librarian. I would go in the morning every Sunday, and I would unlock the doors for the church, get everything ready. And that was the start of my singing career. I used to sing in the choir there.
So you was a church boy.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
What happened to you later on in the later years? What happened to you in the church?
Well, it started with after my aunt, Reverend Caldwell, had dug a hole in the ground, built the church all the way up to the top. She formulated a lot of programs. In fact, she had actually built the church. And at that time, it's my understanding that the deacons board said that God didn't call women to preach, and they dismissed her. So she went on the other side of town, and she had another church built. I think it's on Wick Street. And that's one of the memories I have of it. And after that, I didn't have to. I was involved with a lot of ministers through politics and through the WTCSA, but quite frankly, I lost a lot of respect for them after that.
When you was in high school, where did you go to high school?
I went to high school at Warren G. Harding High School.
Did you have any incidents there that you can remember that stand out in your mind?
Yeah, it was during the time that we were there. Like I said, I was in what was called the a cappella choir there. I used to sing there. And there was an incident where in the classrooms and in the choir, they wanted us to sing a song called Old Black Joe. And there was a young lady, her name was Barbara Eldale. And another one, I can't think of her name right now. It was during the times when we were protesting and everything. So we walked out of the school and we all assembled on the lawn, and we weren't going to do that anymore. And consequently, they capitulated and we came back in. But that was singing Old Black Joe, using the word nigger in literature, all types of things. We just put a stop to it.
And this was at Harding High
Warren
School?
G. Harding High School.
And
During the
this was in
1964 or so.
Who were some of your friends in high school?
Okay, we had a group of guys that we always would be around. It was Wheeler Morgan, Warren McKinney, Leslie Craig, Milton Yancey, Hucklebuck, Rufus Alexander, Taylor Irvin. We all had a little club we called the Saratogas. We stuck together pretty well. And most of the guys, they were mostly athletes, and I sang a lot, so I had the opportunity to sing with a lot of singing groups at that time.
What, your family, how you have sisters?
Yes, I have 3 sisters, Kelly, Mary Ann, and Barbara. They all were members of Second Baptist Church. I think they might still be, for that matter. And I had one brother, Tom Caldwell, who was, in 1967, was killed in a car accident on Main Street. At that time, I was in the military. I was overseas on the DMZ in Korea, and I had to come back from Korea to Warren for the funeral. When I came back, I went to Detroit to stay with my cousin Florine for maybe a couple of weeks. At that time, the Detroit riots broke out, and I couldn't get out of Detroit on time. Consequently, I was AWOL back in Korea, and they took my stripe. My one little stripe I had. He was a racist sergeant. I think he was mostly, he didn't like black people. You have to remember, this was the 60s, mid-60s. And he sent me up on the DMZ as punishment for it. Again, more times than I should have been. And some incidents happened up there I'm not proud of, but that's the way it went.
So you went into the military right after high school?
Yeah, in 1965 we graduated. In 1966 I was on the DMZ in Korea. One incident, we were standing in front of Warren G. Harding High School, and our friend Percy Julian, he had gotten drafted. He came and he said, well, he had gotten a brand new Mustang with his signing bonus. And he said, I'm gonna see you guys, I'm gonna do my 2 or 3 years and I'll be back, we'll all get back together again. Well, we all split up and we found out that during that time that Percy was clearing post. He only had about 3 or 4 days to go. That's what the word we got. And some of his own men killed him. And I think it was one of those type of things where he was a sergeant and some of the his Caucasian people didn't like him. This is what the word was that we got.
Wow.
So we never got to see him again. See, there were so many guys that was in our group during the Vietnam War that died. I have Marvin Avery, Jarrett, I just named them all.
So you did run into some racism in the military?
Absolutely. We would go out and have a drink when we were on leave, and it was in, where was it at? Fort Lee, Virginia. And we would go into a club and we'd have a drink, and then they would break the glasses after we drank. That's what's still going on. And so what we did after they broke the glasses, we would take the glasses. They had to serve us because we were soldiers, and we start breaking them ourselves. And then the MPs would come and tell us to leave, you know.
How long were you deployed over there in Korea?
I stayed there from a year, and so it wasn't coincidence that all of us, when we got on the bus, were taking us to our different assignments. Most of the guys ended up on the DMZ were black. I had a black doctor, black cook, Captain Childress was that. Most of the white guys would end up in Seoul. I was stationed 5 miles south of Panmunjom. That's where the building is, where North Korea sits on this side of the building. South Korea sits on this side, and they negotiate. A, B, and C company were all just about black. I was an armorer. My job was to fix all the weapons and a supply clerk.
You fixed the weapons?
Yes, I did. I could do it, yeah.
You got any weapons today?
Yes, I do. And I advise anybody else to get theirs too.
Let me ask you, when you got out of the military, what did you do?
Okay, when I got out of the military, 1965, I got hired at General Motors. When I got drafted, that meant I worked there for 3 months. I got drafted and they had to give me, I went overseas. When I came back, they had to give me my time back. So I had good seniority there. I was the 362nd person hired at the General Motors plant. So I worked there and also did my little singing. I also was an insurance agent.
What did you do at General Motors?
I started off as an inspector, they called it.
Besides cause trouble.
Yeah, I did a little bit of that. But I started off as an inspector. And from there, because I had so much, my seniority was good, I ended up being a sanitation engineer. That sanitation engineer equates to a sweeper. I swept the floor, and I loved every minute of it. That allowed me time while I was there to get my insurance license, real estate license. I was 54 years old. I went back, became a paralegal from Youngstown State. I'm a notary public, and allowed me to do those things and start my own little business.
Did you run into any racial problems when you worked for General Motors?
Oh man, yeah. One incident was that I recall was because I would come to work dressed like I am now, just about without the tie, and some of the people didn't like me because of that. You know, when you're trying to be upper mobile. What happened was 2 incidents. We went over to the body shop. And we witnessed a white guy riding a black guy on his back like a horse. And I think it was myself and Eddie Armstrong went over there. And the man was scared to death because he needed his job and he didn't know what to do. Well, that guy, he wouldn't ride nobody else's back. That's all I can tell you. 'Cause, I mean, I'm still drawing pension from General Motors. He wouldn't do it again. But for me, I have a card, and I'm gonna bring that card that you see it where they left a card, a Ku Klux Klan card on my workstation. It said next call would be wouldn't be a house call, something like that. Well, what they didn't understand was that at General Motors at the time, most of us had just come back from overseas, and we were not right in the head. Most of us, they speak of PTSD now. Most of us, when I left Korea and came home, after that, I was left in DMZ the next day. I was sitting on my mother's front porch looking back and forth. I didn't know what was going on. But at that time, I realized the difference, that you weren't nothing to be messed with. And so those guys out there, they found out soon enough that that most of us, like you said, that we took us a while to acclimate ourselves back to where we're supposed to be.
So you eventually retired from General Motors?
Yeah, I retired from General Motors when I was 47 years old. I was lucky enough to take the first buyout. No, it wasn't a buyout, but there was an early out where they gave us 2 years full pay and benefits if we would leave. And I consequently left and started a little business at a store down on Pine Street of my own.
What kind of business did you start?
I started a promotional products business. The first business we had was an insurance business. I sold the insurance and the real estate. I had an office at Clive Harbin's place for a while, up on Youngstown Road. Seemed like we moved offices every 10 minutes, but until we moved on Pine Street, and I had a storefront there. And it was a promotional products business, which I'm still doing to today.
Why? How come you never left Warren?
Well, I did leave Warren. I might skip that. I stayed in Detroit for 6 months or something like that before I went to the service. I had a job at the Wrigley Chewing Gum Factory up there out on 7 Mile Road, I think it was. We stayed on the corner of Rochester and Dexter over there. Too much going on. I just couldn't make it. My cousin, she stayed there and she retired there. She had a job. But I came back to Warren, that's when I went back to General Motors. But Warren was the type of thing, when you go overseas and you come back, you learn to appreciate some things that we have here. Most people don't realize it. And the reason is they never left. If you go somewhere else and you come back and you see, then you see how you can make some things happen here if you really wanted to.
How did you meet your wife? Tell me a little bit about her.
My wife was,
what's her name?
Her name is Brenda Honeywood. And her and her friend, Brenda Franklin, mayor's sister, was walking down Niles Avenue. And I was walking up Niles Avenue, and we met there. This is back, she was 14, I was 16. And that name was junior high, was just first year in high school. And that's how we met. And we've been married this year as you do this. This is my 50th year of marriage to her. So we had already, before that we had known each other probably 2 or 3 years before that, 4 years before.
You have any children? What's their name and what do they do?
Yeah, I have 2 children here. His name is Danny, we call him Danny's, Herbert Caldwell. Let me explain this to you. My father is Herbert Caldwell Sr. I'm Herbert Caldwell Jr. My son is Herbert Caldwell III, and my grandson is Herbert Caldwell IV. So that explains that. And then I have a daughter, Shannon. She's a principal up in Cleveland, Ohio. And I think I have one son in California, Percy.
What, there again, how did you get involved in politics in the city of Warren?
Okay, I was a precinct committeeman for 17 years in the city of Warren. When I got out of the service, the first one to buy a house on Phillips Street. And it was an unusual situation because it was the first time that I lived in a neighborhood on my own. And you could see certain things happening. The neighborhood was really fine then, it was really good. But when you see things that were happening that you could fix, you stepped out and you fixed them. So I ran for election and I won. Consequently, after that, I started getting appointments to different boards. Got to know some of the players, some of the politicians. I was appointed by Bob Dawson to the WTCSA board. We were able to negotiate and move from downtown Warren to the what is it called, West Junior High School building. I was instrumental in doing that. It's a lot of things that happened then. By knowing some of the players, some things that I probably shouldn't mention, but politics was politics. And that's my first, I got to know, some of the judges and the prosecutors and the sheriff and the different people. It was an interesting time.
You say you're a businessman. Do you do any business with the city of Warren? People in the city of Warren?
That's the strange thing about it. It's my understanding that as it started off, when we had Mayor Hank Angelo, and his brother was Joey Angelo. He was the county commissioner. I was able to do business with them, with the county and the city at that time. Art McGee, I think, was a commissioner. He was one of the guys instrumental with me doing business with the county. But from the city of Warren, I think that, no. I don't think it's the amount of business I've done with the city of Warren, it's nil.
Why do you think this is?
Well, I think it's a lack of understanding amongst the leaders. For myself, I raised a lot of hell. I'm just going to tell you, I did. I got on radio on my own, called out to people. I had council people come down to the radio station. They were pissed off at me for saying what I said, but I was tired of it. And this is a thing that comes from being in the military, where you become aggressive, to the point where you don't care. And I raised a lot of hell, and I got noticed. And I don't think that when you have people in politics that don't particularly come up through the ranks, then they don't know what the hell's going on, and that's that. I mean, you can't teach them. They have their own self-interest in mind, and they don't really understand.
Living in Warren all your life, do you think the city of Warren, have you seen any progression in the city of Warren? Do you think we're any better now, or are we going forward, or are we going backwards?
I think we're going backward. And the reason being that we don't have the participation that we had before of the average citizen. For instance, we started what was called an incubator in the city of Warren because we felt that we needed to train ourselves to do business. We graduated some 17 black businesses out of that building. We was able to get a grant, I think it was, from the safety service director at the time, to give to the person that owned the building, and we were able to sit up there and teach ourselves how to do business, and we did quite well at it. But these days, it doesn't seem like the city or anyone wants to be cooperative enough to give us that opportunity. See, what it was is that if you want to do something, you have to do it yourself. I think people now have lost that impetus. They think that things are to be given to them. We became MBEs, it's a minority business enterprise, certified by the state of Ohio. But that was not a given. That was not a giveaway. We had to be certified. We had to pay our taxes. We had to be up to par before the state of Ohio would do business with us. Consequently, that made us better business people. We populated the Pine Street area uptown, and surveys showed it was one of the busiest thoroughfares in the city of Warren at that time.
Tell me about the Robbins Theater. It seems like we were there first, right?
Yes, we were. Are you speaking of when it was the theater? Yeah, most of the black people at the time I went there had to sit up in the balcony or on the right-hand side in a certain section. If you went there, we didn't particularly know any better, particularly didn't care, because we all had our own entertainment on the other side of the tracks. We had our own restaurants, our barber shops, we had our own recreation center, we had grocery stores, we had everything we needed. In my opinion, after when I came back from the service, when this integration thing became so heavy, I think we lost it all. Had we stayed on our own and contributed as a people to the community, we would have been better off. But right now, we have nothing. We have 1% of 1% of ownership in the city and in the state. That was in slavery. We still have 1% of 1% at this day I'm speaking to you.
This is kind of controversial, But I agree with you. So you're saying, in a way, segregation was good in a way
Segregation.
for us as business people.
Well, yeah, absolutely. We lost every one of our businesses when we wanted to be, we wanted to integrate. We lost our cab companies. We had, I could just name in our grocery stores because the white man's ice was colder. We had been what was called brainwashed, and I think some of us to this day are well, I'm just going to say it, we're whiter than the white man who put this on us. We try to act like him. We do everything, and we lost everything that we had. And I think in Warren, right in the Trumbull County as we speak, I would probably be the only black man that has an insurance license in Trumbull County that I know of. Now, there's some in Youngstown. I'm also thinking that for the real estate, other than Bert Johnson now, the active, I probably own the only black male has a real estate license in Trumbull County. And it has to show some things if you look at that. Why is that? See, and as a paralegal, I wanted to find out about the law. I wanted to go to Ohio State to be a lawyer. Some of my friends, white friends, they got deferments and they went to Ohio State and they are lawyers. Some of them, they're practicing law in the city now. So what I did was I went back to Youngstown State and became a paralegal. See, a paralegal knows the law, he just can't practice it.
So, did you ever do any business with the county, Trumbull County?
Oh yeah, I'm doing business with the Trumbull County as we speak. See, what I found out doing business with the county, became an MBE. One incident was with the Ohio Lottery Commission. I won a bid with them. So when I won the bid was for 1,500,000 little pencils that they used to write the numbers with. Well, they shipped the pencils to the Superior Avenue address, 1 million pencils to the downtown office, and UPS dropped them there. They were supposed to go out to the warehouse. I got in my van, I went to Cleveland, picked the pencils up, took me all day, back and forth, and I put them in the warehouse. That went around to every agency in the state, and they started to want to do business with me because I was dependable. I consequently used that as a, they could tell the people in the county, the buyers, that I was dependable. I started to do business with the county. See, and then the only people that I didn't do business, well, I did some with the city at that time, but the only people that didn't here recently, the city has nothing to do with it.
So your problem, basically, business-wise, is with the city, right?
Absolutely. And see, here's the thing. With the city, you don't want to do business with anyone that don't want to do business with you. Now, we had a coalition of black business people who would stand up for each other. We don't have that anymore. And some of the younger people don't get that, why they haven't been able to establish themselves in doing business in the community, because they don't have a coalition, they don't have a way of teaching each other, they don't have a way of helping each other and standing up for each other. Things have not changed like they want us to believe they have. We still need to stand up for each other, and then they would do business for us. For instance, if the city didn't do business, that's discrimination. File a lawsuit on them, like we used to do. But now, me doing that by myself, no. But that's the key to it. You have to wake people up. I think a lot of people heard me speak on city council floor and raise hell about this and that and the other. Well, they got the message. When you believe in yourself, you believe in what you're doing, and you know that you would do your just dues, then you step out and you do it. That's the way it was in the service, that's the way in the military, that's the way it is now.
What do you think about the black politicians here in Warren and Trumbull County today?
Well, I try.
Well, Warren, we don't have any Trumbull County.
I try very hard not to think about them, because in my book, the vast majority of them are irrelevant. It's a thing that's going around now called quid pro quo. Most people want to make it out of a nasty word, since this orange idiot we have in the White House, what he's doing. Quid pro quo means you do for me and I do for you. That's business. I offer you a product, you pay me. See, but what we have here, so the politicians don't understand. They don't seem to understand that. And so they're not real leaders. They're just elected officials. They're not leaders, and we should expect no more out of them other than that. They're just people that we elected to fill a seat. See, a person that calls themselves a leader, you know what I mean, has people to follow. A person that is not a leader, he's just out there taking a walk.
Do you see the difference between the 60s and 70s and the present time now as far as black people?
Yes, I do. I think in the 60s and the 70s, as I said before, we had to stick together. It was really bad. We had come back from the Vietnam War. We had gotten a lesson out of that. We had lost our businesses. Gentrification had started to take effect. We had been moved out of our homes and everything. We had to stick together, and we took on a different attitude. The attitude was black power, black pride, and things of that nature. And that catapulted us to a point where we started to do some things. Then, at that point, the powers that be got wise and started giving this one a little bit of that, this one a little bit of that, and we turned against each other. Consequently, to this day, we have nothing. Now, the young people have a chance to rectify that. But, you know, Facebook, Twitter, and all these things, it doesn't allow them to look me in the eye like I'm looking you in the eye and tell your story and then get to know people and do what you're supposed to do. That's the only difference.
Do you think this generation today here in the city of Warren, do you think it has something to do with maybe Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X? In your generation, you was exposed to Malcolm X, the black nationalist. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, I had people in my family who, during the time just before, right after Malcolm X was assassinated, they started a Muslim organization right here in Warren. And I also remember the Black Panther Party was right here in Warren too. And I know the guy did, I think it was Jay. Anyway, they raided his place down on 4th Street, and I haven't seen him since. I think he's somewhere in Canton. The point is that we had some conviction. We had what we call leaders. We also had a thing called Sambos. And I think the worst problem in our community is, to those of you who don't know what a Sambo is, there was a book called Uncle Tom's Cabin. It was written by Harriet Beecher Stowe. In the book, there were 3 primary characters: Simon Legree, Sambo, and Uncle Tom. To make a long story short, the slave master gave a whip to Uncle Tom and told him to beat the slaves and make them pick more cotton and do more work. Uncle Tom, being a good man, a religious man, a weak man, a house Negro, he refused to do it. So the slave master handed the whip to the Sambo. The Sambo took the whip and beat Uncle Tom to death, which means that any time a black man is given authority and he beats his own people to death, he's not an Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom was a good man. He's a Sambo, and we should know the difference. And we have a lot of Sambos in politics, in business, and they managed to put them in all the positions that would have been held by the Malcolm X's and the Martin Luther Kings and those people with convictions. What we have now are Sambos. And it's up to us to remove them from office. Nobody else is going to do it.
Do you think we did a good job teaching the next generation our history?
No. I think we dropped the ball there. And I know we dropped the ball there because most of our generation really don't know who they are. If they knew who they were, then they would not kill each other. There would be no dope selling. There would be all this confrontations that we have amongst them. It wouldn't happen because it's impossible, for instance, to look at another person and hurt them or kill them or do anything to them. First, you have to degrade them. And you notice we found that out in the service. Well, before you would even shoot at somebody, they had to put it in our heads that that person was not a human being. He was a geek. He was a gook. He was something other than a human being. Well, this is what our kids don't understand who they are. Once you find out who you are, then you won't harm your brother. We call each other brother. See, so there's something to that I don't think that we've learned. And once the youth has a way to learn their history, they'll find out where they came from, kings, queens, what we did to build a society, what we invented, what we can do with our minds. We'll be back on track. But beware, there's a force of Sambos and Caucasians who do not want us to know that. They don't want us to, because when we do, we'll have our own.
Do you think, and this goes back to Harding High School, did they teach you any history concerning black people at Harding High School?
They taught me his story, and that means his story, not my story. Our history did not start in the United States. We did not come over here on the Mayflower. We came on slave ships, and we had a history before we got here. When you rob a man of his language, of his knowledge of himself, you rob him of all the things that made him who he was, then you can control him, and that's what we're doing now. Again, most of us have taken on the way of our oppressor, and that's who we are now, and we don't even realize it. Our young people, when they find out who they are, we'll be right back where we're supposed to be.
Malcolm X said, any race who allows their oppressors to teach them history is a fool.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I think he's absolutely right, because it's even our religion. We found out that Christianity, for instance, was given during the 325 AD at the Nicene Conference, a bit of popes. They made a lot of this up. The Jesus that we see on our walls, the Jesus we see in our churches, is Michelangelo's nephew. See, and there we have historians of our own, J.A. Rogers, in a book called Nature Knows No Color Line. I think everyone should get it. And these things are explained to us. But we are not ourselves. And that's the reason we can't expect any more than we get.
Why do you think our generation, black generation here in the city of Warren, were so weak teaching the next generation our history of what happened here in the city of Warren?
Well, because if you remember, most of us are raised in the church. And the ministers in the church were unlearned themselves. Most of them were Sambos, to be quite honest with it. And they taught us what they were taught under the auspices of the person that gave them. For instance, they were given their certificates to preach by their oppressor. They were told what to preach by their oppressor. Consequently, we didn't know, and this is what we have in our head now. But no, see, the truth, they say, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. It didn't say set you free. To be set free is to preclude you were free one time before that. You weren't. It means to make you free is to be made over again, and that's what we need.
On Black History Month here in Trumbull County, do you think we do a good job talking about our history?
Black History Month, that's a good one. No. In fact, it's impossible for us to do a decent job about that because we don't know who we are. Everything that we celebrate and we do in this Black History Month, so-called, escalated from Black History Week, we do by what we learn from the very person that doesn't want us to know who we are. If we ever found out who we were, for instance, I could just go on and on about Ma'at and the Middle Passage. It's called the Ma'afa. That's our Holocaust. All the things that you find out about that makes you who you are. But as far as celebrating, what do they talk about? They give us the same characters every year, and no one goes any deeper, and so we don't know who we are. We're lost. Some of us don't know who we are, and so no, we don't do it. In fact, I don't even. It doesn't bother me. I don't participate in that because it's a sham.
Did your mother or father ever tell you any stories about your grandmother or grandfather in Alabama?
It was a time where we knew we owned a lot of property there and things of that nature they would talk about. But I don't know if you remember there's a time where the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, we didn't know that some of our parents were Garveyites. The Garveyites were preparing for this race war that was going to come back in the 30s and 40s. They gathered guns, they were ready to defend themselves, like the Deacons for the Defense. Anyway, they weren't told very much, because had we known what they were doing, we would have went to school, we would have told the people they could have lost their jobs or could have got themselves in trouble or even really hurt. So they told us different things about the South or where they came from, but they never told us the intricate things, because we couldn't have handled it. We would have, went out on it. But we were always trying to do better. They have it believing that we didn't rebel, that we didn't do anything, that all of us turned the other cheek people, and it wasn't that way. Malcolm said that when you saw them turning the hoses on our women and our children, he asked them, what do you think the world saw when they saw these guys beating our women and children with sticks, kicking them, sticking dogs on them? What do you think they saw? Well, most of our people say, well, we saw the cruelty of these people. He said, no. What the world saw was a big black man cowering in the corner, allowing them to beat your mother and your sisters and be attacked by dogs, and you didn't do anything about it. It's a wonder they let you stay on the face of the earth.
Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Where did you stand as a young man? Where did you stand with these two?
I stood, at first, I bought into the rhetoric, but I found out that they were working together, and I have a picture of them at the only meeting that they had. And they were working together on this thing, but we weren't told that. And Malcolm put out an edict that told Lincoln Rockwell that if anything happens to Dr. King in the South because of your rhetoric, I don't have a problem coming down there and taking care of that. Well, see, most of the Sambos that we were under auspices of would not tell us that. They always thought that you were supposed to turn the other cheek, and that Martin Luther King was some type of preacher that wouldn't do anything. But Martin was carrying a .38 pistol the last year that before he was assassinated. He had enough of it too. And if you would read some of the speeches other than "I Had a Dream" that Martin wrote, you'd find that out. But they don't let us see that. Well, I've listened to him and read him. He was no longer that. He had learned his lesson. You see, he learned his lesson.
Do you think here in the city of Warren and Trumbull County, part of the problem is, in our generation, we always had a good guy and we had a bad guy. We don't have that today.
When you say good guy and bad guy, you mean?
A troublemaker.
Oh,
a tree shaker to go along with the good guy.
Yeah, well, see, that's just it. That's it. You have your Sambos, you see what I mean? And you have your Uncle Toms. And until, two things can't occupy the same space. And that's where we have our problem at. No, we still have them. And they're going to be there for generations until someone takes the attitude that Malcolm had and do for self. This is where it's going to be. It's not going to change.
Well, there again, in the city of Warren, what do you think happened? Because we had this in the 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. We don't have it now. What happened? We lost it.
It was the fault of the Sambos. What they did was they had their own. When community development department started selling our property out from under us using eminent domain. And what happened was we noticed a strange thing. There was only 2 or 3 people that actually fought it. The rest of them, they used a black man to do that, incidentally. But they were so out of it that they didn't fight it the way that they should have. Now, I remember across from my home, there was a big school building there. And next to the school building was a little swimming pool. And that was the black swimming pool for the city of Warren. We weren't allowed to use the one at Packard Park. It was right across the street from my home. And you see, we always would have those people, most of them being preachers, who tell us, no, don't do this, and no, don't do that. Don't do this, don't do that. Things will get better. The Lord's going to do this, the Lord's going to do that. And it never happened. And to this day, this is the predicament we're in. Until we, and I'm not saying there are some good preachers. I haven't seen them, but there's some good ones, you know, that are willing to be leaders. But hey, see, I'm to the age now where I've paid my dues. I've been overseas. I've got shot at. I've been through the whole thing. I have my pension. I have my own business. I have my own education. I have my own. So there's no reason for me to fudge things or to be soft about what comes out of my mouth. I've earned the right to say what I want to say, and that's just what I'm doing now.
What do you prefer to be called now? Negro, colored, African American, Afro American, or the famous N-word? Which do you prefer to be called?
You know, that's a tough one. But let's put it this way: a black man, plain and simple, because I can't be anything else other than a black man. If you go back and know your history, not his story, but your history, you'll know that that's exactly who you are. And that precludes you from trying to be something that you are not. You are not a Caucasian. You are not an Asian. You are not an Indian. You are a black man. Be that, problem solved.
Okay. So, last question is, what do you think we should do with our youth? Where did we make our mistake? What do you think we should do?
I think it's education. It's going to be a bumpy road. But what I think we need to do is to take some of the funding. I'm on the board with the WIOA board right now, and I'm on the youth committee for Trumbull County from that board, which works in conjunction with the Job and Family Services. Every year we have programs that they try to get out to help our youth. The problem is that the people who are trying to teach our youth, they don't know our youth, so they can't teach them anything. You can't have a cat teach a dog how to bark. It's just not going to work. But they steadfastly refuse to let individuals who are black teach our kids from the perspective that we will learn. Jawanza Kufu had a book that black youth, especially black men, are hands-on learners. We've always been that way. That's part of our DNA. We built things, we built empires, we did things. We didn't sit in the classroom all day long and just sit and listen to someone lecture us. So, as it comes down, when we sit in the class and we get up, we move around and we do this and that, we were labeled disruptive in the class because it wasn't our nature to sit still. We are doers. See, if we were to take that and educate our kids, let us educate them. I can talk to them. I've told several people how to get in business. I've told people about how to get their credit straight. I've done all those things, but I've done it from an Afrocentric point of view. See, I remember one of the questions asked on the GED test, not GED, but the test that they gave you to get out of high school. They asked me what was a matzo ball. And because I could not answer that question, I was deemed, Well, I asked them, what was a ham hock? What was a collard green? They looked at what, kale? No, I didn't say kale. I said a collard green. Pot liquor, you know what I mean? So it's all, if we can get our kids together, if we can go from place to place, start off with some of the knowledge that you're doing here, place to place, go from place to place. We can't go to our churches because some of them are afraid of us, but we can get the youth to understand who they are, first of all. We won't have a problem. We could do this in a month. I would guarantee you in 1 month in the city of Warren, with the proper resources, we could turn this whole thing around because they don't know. It's no sense in blaming them for the way they act and what they do because they don't know, and we haven't taught them. So that's one of the things that I really want to do is to get a program started where we can teach our youth that. I'm going to teach them entrepreneurship. In the city of Warren, I want to have at least 2 or 3 black insurance men. I can show them how to do that. We need black real estate agents. We need black notary publics. We need black paralegals. All this would raise our worth up 100%. And it can be done in a month. But we sit and we drag this on for years and years and years, and it doesn't happen. They can do it. They have the skills, they have the technology that we didn't have, and it could be done. I guarantee you, in a month's time, going from place to place, we will fill it out. People are not going to church anymore. Young people are not for that specific reason. You see, they can get on Google and they can find out, you know, did John walk on the water? They can find out, you know, if you want to. So you can't sit up there and spew that stuff to them, but that's my goal, is to have a program set up where we can go from place to place, invite the people in, and teach them their history in conjunction with the history of the city of Warren, but their history, how we got here, why we are here, what we need to do. We see the city of Warren being built up, we see people putting money into it and this, that, and the other. Well, we can do the same on our own. But I happen to think that the city of Warren has given up on the west side of Warren. There's going to be another gentrification. It's like they moved the Indians on the Trail of Tears. They moved them from Florida all the way to Oklahoma, and they've been moving ever since. Well, they moved us from our home in the flats to the west side. Now they're moving us out of there, and you're going to be moving. You're going to keep going. You'll never have anything until you stop and find out who you are. And you are nobody unless you have land.
Okay. Any final thing you want to say? Anything about anything?
Got me going now. I better quit while I'm here. No, not that I can think of, other than how important it is to have this program for the youth. And we're going to be challenged by some of the ministers. I know that, because they feel challenged about their authority. I have to tell you about. Had one of the judges come down to Rebecca Williams, and he gave a presentation on probate. Brought his bailiff, set up a nice presentation, and I had asked 2 preachers to help me do it. Get the word out. I want you guys to be involved in this. This we can really change this whole city. They didn't do anything. 7 people showed up. They didn't pass out any flyers. They didn't do anything. So I learned then. Go ahead.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's because it's a lack of knowing. They don't know who they are. You understand what I mean? Now, if you are a leader and you're supposed to be helping your people do a certain thing or come up, you would think that would be the first thing you do. But I think that it was more out of ignorance than anything else. They were fearful of dealing with the powers that be in a way that's going to empower their community. The judge? What do you mean? You see, we see judge, we see stripes across us. We don't see the other side of the system where they are paid by us to help us. And I think it scared the hell out of them, if you ask me, because they didn't do it. And I thought it was just really weird that you would say you were going to do something like that and didn't do anything. And then show up late, and it was crazy. But from that, I learned a lesson. You see, that we're not going to win our freedom or come up to par through them. It's going to be something that we do. And if you and I don't do it, it ain't going to happen. I don't expect a young man to do it. Nobody told him about some of the things that we're talking about here.
Do you think here in the city of Warren, we give enough credit to people like Bob Dawson, Marge Corbin, Zip Brooks, and these type of people that laid the groundwork for us?
No, they don't know who they are. They absolutely don't know who they are. If they knew, if they knew who these people were and what these people actually did, it would change their whole attitude. Then we could give credit to them. We have to do that. You see, we have to do that. We have not done it because we forgot. We've become something other than who we are. You remember the Brief Encounter and the Gym Restaurant and you know, all the places that we own, and we had to go there, but we have not passed that on to our youth.
Okay, but why do you think that is? We, as black people, our generation of black people did not pass it on to our youth. Why do you think that is?
Oh, I can tell you. It's called post-traumatic slave syndrome. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. You should Google Dr. Joy DeGruy. She's a psychologist, black psychologist, and she tells us what we experience now was handed down to us all the way down. This is why we don't do it. We still have the slave mentality. You see, and we're not going to get. It's not going to happen until we find out who we are, come back to ourselves, and do that. The Sambo's, look, a Sambo knows who he is. He's happy being a Sambo. He's happy being a disruptor because he's given that privilege to his oppressor. Makes him a big shot. But no, it's post-traumatic slave syndrome. And it may sound funny, but it is. I have a book called The National Directory of Certified Uncle Toms. And people laugh when I tell them about the title of it, but it's true. It's actually written a history of why we are like we are. It was handed down. It's in our DNA now. You have to understand that. There was a thing given, a study given about rats. They took these rats. The rats became pregnant. They had kids. This is true. They, in front of the rats' kids, they shot the mother rat with a gun. Boom. They traced these siblings all the way down. They all suffer from PTSD all the way down the line, and they could track them. That was the rats. Now you think about us, all the trauma that we've gone through, see, and we pass it down to our kids, because we don't have to, until we stop it. We can stop it tomorrow. But post-traumatic stress syndrome. Me, I had post-traumatic stress disorder. I went to see a psychologist when I came out of the service for some of the stuff that I went through. And that stopped it. You have to do something to stop it. An object set in motion tends to stay in motion until acted upon by an outside force. It's a law.
But these so-called black leaders in the city of Warren today refuse to talk about our past and the people who put us in the position that we're in today to do what we do. Why do you think that is?
They're sick. And the reason they're sick, I just diagnosed it, post-traumatic slave disorder syndrome. They're sick people. We're actually following sick people. And we don't know what. And the good book says when the blind lead the blind, they both fall in the ditch. So we continue to follow these people, follow them, but they're sick and they refuse to get help. You understand? They're spewing what they were taught. It's like a woman who's been beaten by her husband. And you say, well, why do you stay with him? Oh, he's okay. He's all right. He doesn't mean it. He'll be better after a while. Well, it's been 250 years and it got no better. These are sick people, and until they get help, they're no good. Now, notice, I'm saying this. How many other people you think in Warren would call these people sick and can prove it? I can just prove that they're sick. They need help. Post-traumatic slave disorder.
Okay, got anything you want to ask? All right, you cut it off.